Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a tournament that I just played. It is called the Southside Smackdown. They have this event every year, and this year it was one round at Langan Park, which is kind of my home course, and then one round at the University of South Alabama Disc Golf Course, which is also kind of my home course. You know, those are the two courses nearest to me, the ones I play the most, and it was really cool to get to play a tournament that featured both of those courses. And, you know, I'm still kind of hunting for that win, you know, and in rec to start moving up to intermediate as I start approaching that 900 rating, which is another big goal of mine this year, is to get to 900 by the end of the year, which I'm starting to get really close. That and throwing 400 feet, which I'm a little bit farther off of doing that one. But those are the goals that I set for myself this year as an amateur player. And so this is another opportunity to kind of build on that rating and maybe even work towards a win. And we played 20 holes actually at both courses. Langan Park already has kind of a 20-hole setup that, you know, you're already used to seeing. But South Alabama had 2 temp holes that were added to make more room for players to sign up for the event. So 40 holes of disc golf all in one day. And so without further ado, we'll jump into my opening round at Langan Park, and I'll take you along for the ride. All right, so here we go. The first round of this tournament was at Langan Park, one of my home courses. And we start on hole 11. This is where my drive landed. So I have kind of a tricky flex forehand upshot to get to the pin, but I execute it really well. And this is one of those holes where I just want to escape with par. And so having a drop in 3 was great. Now, this is hole B. This is kind of a bonus birdie for me. I can get it sometimes if I get it just right, but more often than not, I'm just trying to get the 3 in. I just put that one a little too high, caught a branch, got knocked down short. Still got left with kind of a long bid out here, you know, edge of circle 2, and kind of gave it a floaty slight chance, but looking just to kind of play safe, make sure I get my 3. So even par through the first couple of holes. As we get on to hole 12, this is in the long pin position, so it's a par 4, and this is one of those holes that I can get a pretty good percentage of the time when it's in the long pin position. And so this shot felt really good out my hand, and looked to be one of the furthest drives I would ever throw on this hole, but I caught that tree dead on, and this left me with a very tricky situation. I could either try to play like a wide skip shot out left, wide left with the forehand, or I could try to just go through this gap with the straighter forehand, and I chose to go through the gap so I didn't have to cover as much ground, and I was able to execute it really well. Really happy with that. And so that will give me basically a tap-in birdie here. And, yeah, 3 holes in. I'm 1 under par, so feeling good. Hole 13. Another one of those holes is kind of a bonus birdie for me. Every now and then I get the right forward push and height to get towards the pin. This one, just getting knocked down by the wind. Very windy day. It was actually, you know, one of those situations where I practiced all week long heading up into this event. But while it was windy those days, this was the windiest day I had played all week. You can kind of see some evidence of that throughout the round as I just kind of floated that one up there. And so now we're on the next hole. This is hole 14. Had a pretty strong tailwind, so I threw a flippy mid, and it just sailed down there. This is probably the closest I've ever gotten to the pin with that low of a speed of a disc. Usually I have to kind of throw a fairway driver to get to the pin. But, yeah, it's pin high left. And this is a huge bonus birdie for me. I don't get that often. So I was 2 under through 5 to get things going. This was just thrown poorly, nose up, in the sky. But this is one of those holes I'm not really attacking for birdie anyway. It's very hard for me to get a disc that pushes forward enough and left enough. So just staying safe and having a pitch up for par was certainly the goal. And that's what I did. So giving myself another par here and keeping myself at 2 under on the round. And at this point, I'm in the lead by a few strokes, so feeling pretty good. This one, I just played it way too safe. I wanted to make sure I avoided that OB ditch on the left-hand side, but just, again, nose it up, threw it kind of high. And getting tangled up here was just grim. If I could have just been 5 to 10 feet more left, I would have had a forehand approach to the pin, but didn't. Had to do this crazy turnover backhand. Got caught up a little bit there, but all good. I still have a chance to pitch up for par here. And a par is, you know, no problem on this hole for me. But it was just a really bad approach shot. I just threw it way too high. Caught so much shrubbery on the way and left myself with I think this is like a 36-foot putt, so just outside circle one. And I kept getting distracted by these people in the background, which is just me not being able to focus upright. And so I bogeyed that hole. This is hole 18, off the tee. I'm way left. And I should have probably just laid up here and took the bogey, but I decided to try to be a hero and make the island anyway from way out of position, and I way didn't. That was definitely out of bounds, and so now all I can really do is pitch up and take a double bogey. And so at this point, going from 2 under par to now I'm going to be 1 over par. So all the work I had done to put myself in good position, I've pretty much erased away, which was really, really unfortunate. But now we're on to the holes that I should normally be able to score on to try to make some of that back up. Hole 1. And again, these forehands, I was just throwing them so poorly on this first round. I was either throwing them way too low or way too high. I could not get the right height and nose angle. And so I had to just kind of pitch up a very long bid. And now this hole, just super windy here on hole 2. Big, strong wind. I tried to fight it with the overstable mid. I probably should have dissed up or at least thrown that disc better with a better nose angle and height, but just kind of ruined it. So I left myself a circle 2 bid. And it was a strong tailwind, so I just kind of floated it up there hoping that I could get it, but didn't happen. So still at 1 over par. Still in the mix, though. You know, I'm still not out of it by any means. I think I'm only like 1 or 2 strokes behind the leader, so no big deal. Here on A hole. Just throwing a safe forehand to stay in bounds and sit up for par. This is a very big bonus birdie for me. Hardly ever do I get anywhere near circle 1 off the tee on this hole. It's just a little out of my range for the forehand. So I just pitch up, take my par, still 1 over. So things are going pretty well. I'm obviously sad that I started 2 under and now I'm 1 over, but, you know, nothing critically wrong has happened. And so here off the tee, I'm loving this shot. I didn't quite push it as forward as I wanted. But as you can see, I still gave myself like a 25 to 30-foot putt for birdie. Death putt, though. Water behind the basket. And yikes. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm talking about it, though. Just sailed it wide right over the basket into the water. So this is my comeback putt for bogey. And chained outright. It hurts to watch, and so that actually puts me at 3 over par for the round, or 4 over par for the round at this point. I think it's 4 over par at this point. Yeah, 2 doubles and a single. And just had really no confidence in the putt after what happened on hole 3. And so that's going to do it for that round, actually. There was a couple of more shots, but they were pretty much all pars. I think I had 1 additional bogey on the final hole of the round, hole 10, because that 9 through 11 stretch on the Municipal Park is a very tough stretch. And I did par 11 the first hole, and then I actually did par 9, but I did take the bogey on 10. So 2 doubles and 2 singles added up to me shooting, I think, 4 or 5 over par at the first round. And so at this point, I'm kind of, you know, struggling a little bit with the mental game because I was in the lead. And then even after I took that first single on 17, the first double on 18 at Langan, I was still, you know, just a couple of strokes off the leader, still very much in contention. Still felt pretty confident I could make something happen. But that double bogey I took on hole 3 from just this really ridiculous errant putt really kind of hit me hard, and I kind of just treaded water after that. And I think, you know, with me being +4 or +5 at the end of that round, I think I was like tied for 10th or 11th place or something like that. I think the field was only like maybe 25 to 30 players, something like that. So yeah, I was tied for 11th, so I was like kind of middle of the pack or just below middle of the pack. But coming in the South, I knew that, you know, there was still a chance I could maybe fight back for top 5. That was kind of my goal. I think I was like maybe 3 or 4 strokes from top 5. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I go to South and I shoot a really good round, I might still be able to at least, you know, place decent, get a good rating, maybe win some prizes or something like that. But I kind of knew that winning was out of the question, or at least that's how it felt, you know, to me. But I went back to my house because I lived nearby. I practiced putting for a few minutes, just, you know, threw some more putts to try to get my confidence back in it. was able to, you know, have a good little putting session. Went and got some lunch, showed up to South, and we started on the hole B, temporary hole between holes 12 and 13. And I decided to try to go for the backhand instead of the forehand over the parking lot because my forehand had been feeling kind of rough throughout the day. But unfortunately, I caught some branches on that right-hand side and got knocked down, but luckily stayed in bounds, setting up this 200-foot upshot to the basket for par. And there is some music playing because one of the players asked if it was okay to play music, and we all were like, yeah, sure, whatever. No big deal. And so, yeah, I was able to throw a really good upshot and get my par on this 10th hole, which is great because the last time I played this hole in a tournament, I took a double bogey. So hole 13, I either parred or took a single bogey, so I was like either 1 under or even. And then here on hole 14, I pretty much parked the pin off the tee. So I get an early birdie. And so I think at this point with that putt, I think I'm either even or 1 under par. Then the next couple of holes, sorry, we're kind of skipping around. Holes 15 and 16, I think I bogeyed 15 and parred 16. And so at this point in the round, I think I'm sitting like right at even par, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that's correct. I'm either at even par or like 1 over par. Sorry, I don't have the scorecard in front of me, and I'm struggling to remember a little bit. This one, I just got a little too high, caught a branch and kicked right. I was on a pretty decent line, but just got caught up. And so now I have to just kind of pitch up for par. There was OB left and deep of the pin for this tournament. So I just kind of throw a little forehand upshot, park the basket, easy par. And so I kind of just keep myself in position. Now, hole 18, looking to try to score something here, try to get back on the right track. And then, yeah, just throw a nice forehand up the left-hand side. Don't get as much ground action as I wanted, so I have a little bit of a further putt than I had hoped for. But nailed it. So I was really happy with that circle's edge putt. Now we're on to the very next hole, hole 1. 360 feet or so, and it's uphill. So I'm not really looking to get the birdie. I'm just looking to put myself in good position. But I actually threw a really good shot here. This is one of my further drives I've had on this hole ever. Almost pin high, but just, you know, wide left, so probably like a 50 to 60 footer. And just a little left. But okay, get my par, and Tracy wanted to give you a nature moment. So there you go. That's a skink. So after that, I parred hole 3. I think I bogeyed hole 2, parred hole 3, parred hole 4. So at this point, I think I'm 1 over par because of the bogey on hole 2. And then I parred the other holes. And so now we're on hole 5. Kind of a crapshoot hole. You're kind of just rolling the dice on what kind of ground action you get. And I got some good ground action. So I'm well inside the circle for a birdie. And sink it. And so that puts me back to even par. Now we go to the next hole. This is hole 6. Don't mind the sign. It's an older tee sign from the past. And there was a left to right wind that I thought would push my disc more straight, and I just read it wrong. So I got more fade than I hoped for. Stuck in this bush line. This was still in bounds, though. Don't mind the white line around me. I asked if I was out, like outside the circle, to see if I could jump putt. And I was told by my card mates, yeah, you're out, in our opinion, which is all you really need. And the reason why I got so happy there is because when I checked the scorecard as we were walking up to the putting green after the drive, I saw that the people ahead of me were actually having a bit of a tougher time so far on the course. You know, I was sitting at even par after I birdied hole 5. And I think at that point, I was only maybe 2 or 3 strokes from the leader. And then when I birdied that hole, I was now 1 under par on the round, and I think at that point I was only 1 stroke off the lead, and I was tied for 2nd place or tied for 3rd or something like that. So I had actually done more damage than I thought as far as like gaining ground back and fighting back to a good position, and so I was ecstatic. You know, because I just didn't think it was possible. Like I thought I was just too out of it. You know, I knew that I could play good golf and, you know, fight back to maybe like a top 5, but to actually have a chance to win was I thought out of the question. So I was pretty pumped hitting that birdie because that puts me 1 under par on the round. And I'm actually on pace to shoot one of my better rounds on this course. You know, normally I shoot maybe like around 2 or 3 under par on this course. I think my personal best is like 4 or 5 under par. So to be, you know, 1 under par with still some holes to play that I felt I could still maybe birdie was making me feel pretty good. So this is actually a new tip hole, just like a 215-foot shot, just kind of dead straight ahead. Kind of hard to see the basket on this footage. And this was really good out of my hand. We actually thought this was tracking for an ace. You unfortunately can't really see it land, but as you'll see here, I was right there. A couple more feet of distance, I might have challenged it. So now I'm 2 under par, and now I am 1 stroke off the lead. So we head into hole 7, playing off the concrete pad, playing as a par 3. Got a little bit more left movement on this distance than I wanted. I kind of wanted to stay in that lane that you see there, but now I'm off to the left of it. So I kind of have a tricky scramble shot to get up to the putting green. I felt my best option was to take an overstable disc and just do a flex forehand to give myself the best chance to get up and down and kind of get around this corner that I'm stuck behind. And I just got the perfect angle on that. Did the right amount of fade, and I dance up into circle 1. Got myself like a 15, 20-foot putt for par here to keep me at 2 under on the round. And I nail it. And so now, again, I'm still kind of just 1 stroke away from the leader, just kind of fighting back and forth. I try to go for this, knowing that I'm, you know, 1 stroke off the leader, and I just misread the wind, didn't have particularly good throws, a little nose up. And so I'm stuck in these woods left, and now I'm thinking, oh, no, maybe I've made a mistake going for this. Normally I would lay up this hole and just play it for par, but I thought, you know, hey, if I can birdie this hole, maybe that'll tie me up with the leader and maybe at least force a playoff or something. Just didn't quite work out, but I was actually able to scramble out of there and give myself an upshot for par. You know, if I can get up and down from this position, I have a chance to still par the hole and no damage done, basically. You know, the risk I took, you know, all of a sudden doesn't hurt me at all. Unfortunately, I kind of yanked this one way right, and so I'm kind of concerned, but it actually fights through. And I think this gives me like a 30-footer or so, 25, 30-footer for par. Not ideal, but certainly doable. My putting was doing a lot better this round, so I was feeling pretty confident. And I nail it. So, yeah, still 2 under par, still, I think, 1 behind the leader because the leader's been kind of matching me stroke for stroke, just parring just like I am. And this is obviously the tricky par 4 with the tunnel off the tee. Obviously, I went way more left than I wanted to. I was able to pitch out. So this is actually me throwing my 3rd shot. And this looked like a great line to skip towards the basket, which is off to the left. But unfortunately, I actually went under this sewer cap. So the goal was to have the disc come through here and then just swing with the skip kind of in this dirt patch right here towards the pin to get a par. That was the goal. And I just got caught up underneath this like cement sewer cap thing. So my lie is actually on top of the sewer cap. And so I'm kind of thinking, I can kind of give it like a soft straddle jump putt bid. Threw a little high though, caught some branches. And so I have to settle for a bogey on this par 4. Which, I mean, is not the end of the world. This is a pretty tough hole for amateurs in particular. Certainly no gimme for pro players either. Definitely a hole that they can 3, but yeah. All right, so to take a pause here. And so essentially just kind of want to run you down what happened there. So when I took that bogey, the guy who was in the lead actually took a double bogey. And so rather than losing ground, I actually kind of gained it. And I think that's actually what helped me stay 1 stroke behind the leader. I think I was maybe 2 strokes behind the leader going into hole 10 because I think he got a birdie that I didn't get. And so going into that hole, I was 2 behind. I bogey it. He doubles. It's back to 1 stroke separation. So then hole 11, which isn't on film here, I wound up parring that hole. It was a hole that I could birdie, and I went for it. Just didn't get off the tee. Had to just kind of chip up for par. And so now we're on hole 12. And this is a very tricky hole. It's like 335 feet, kind of a tunnel shot, requires you to be very accurate, but also get, you know, a good amount of distance. But you have to keep your disc low. You have to stay very accurate. And so this is a very tricky hole to get the birdie on. And in particular, with how windy it was throughout this day, it made it even harder. And I almost never birdie this hole. Usually I play like a mid to just play safe and try to stay in this lane, you know, that you're seeing on the center of your screen to just kind of pitch up for par. Every now and then I'll try to attack it with the fairway driver just to give myself maybe like a circle 2 putt for birdie. But realistically, this is just one of those holes that I just know that I'm usually not going to really have a chance to birdie. You just have to keep a disc straight for so long. You have to keep the disc straight for pretty much like 315 feet and then kick left. It's just one of those ones that I'm not consistently able to do. But coming up into this hole, I was one stroke off the leader, and I just watched the leader throw off the tee. I knew he was going to par hole 11. He was in position to birdie, right? Then the guy that was tied with me, or the guy that was like kind of fighting with me for second place, he too was basically going to par. And so what actually was the situation is that I was solo second. I was one stroke behind the leader, and the guy fighting me for second was a stroke behind me. So stepping up to this tee, I knew that if I birdied the hole, I could force a playoff for the win, which I just was impressed I even got to that position considering how bad things were going. And I knew that even if I bogeyed this hole, I would still get second place. It would just be a tie for second instead of solo second. And I'm 1 under par at this point, worth noting. So I was 2 under par before I took that bogey on hole 10. That knocked me down to 1 under par, par at 11, so I'm 1 under going to this. So it was like, do I just play for par on this hole, hope that that dude somehow misses his par putt, and then we still go to a playoff, and I get to shoot a 1 under par round to get a better rating and to get like a really good tournament round on this course compared to what I normally do outside of tournament conditions? Or do I risk it for the biscuit, throw a distance driver, try to get down there, try to get my birdie, take fate into my own hands and try to force the playoff no matter what, and maybe even just get the outright win if the leader winds up missing their par putt or something like that? And well, I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer to go for it. Worst case scenario, I was going to tie for second place at a solo second. Best case scenario, I might win the tournament or at least go to a playoff. So without further ado, I decided to take a distance driver on this hole, which I normally never do, just to try to give myself the best chance to get down there. And it just didn't work out. Just drifted way left. Got an unfortunate tree kick. Kind of put me back in the lane, though. But as I tried to pitch up to get my par, this dish just flipped on me for some reason. I still don't know how that happened. It's usually like kind of a more overstable upshot disc for me, and it just flipped over and hit another tree. So now I'm just basically jump putting for par. Did not get enough height on it, and so I wind up taking a bogey, as you're about to see here. And that bogey essentially guaranteed that I would get the tie for second place. And yeah, so with that said, I wound up taking a tie for second place of the event, which was actually a pretty good recovery considering how the first round went. Normally, it's the reverse way. I usually play really well the first round, put myself in a good position, and then somehow get in my own head and mess it up in the second round. That's kind of what happened to me last year when I played the NADGT event at Graham Creek. I was in first place on the harder course of the two courses I had to play, went to the easier course, kind of choked, and wound up falling into fourth place. Then, when you look at the Citronelle lineup event that I played, I was in a really good position after the first round, but wound up just struggling and wound up taking second place at that event. Then the Westwood County Park event, I was second place, 2 strokes behind the leader after the first round, then fell apart in the second round, but still wound up somehow salvaging a second place finish. So this just adds my third second place finish on the year, basically. One of the events was not sanctioned, so you won't see it on PDGA. It was a Southern event. It was just, unsanctioned event, Citronelle lineup. Took second place there. Westwood County Park event, I think, was a C tier. You can check that out. Yeah, I wound up placing second there. Had like a 974 rated first round and then tanked it in the second. And this was the reverse, So the first round, I basically shot at my rating with the +5. I started on a hole 11. And yeah, I got those 2 birdies, was 2 down, but then took the single, the double, and then another double. And then I took a couple of more singles and wound up going +5. Round 2, I wound up shooting even par. I could have shot 1 under, but obviously I was trying to go for the win, trying to go for the playoff, and so did something risky, cost me. But still was able to shoot a 942 rated round at even. Had 3 birdies in a row on 5 through A. Got to see all those. And then I had the birdie on 14. That was like one of the first holes I played because I started on hole B. And so, yeah, par, bogey, birdie, another bogey, par. And then, yeah, just kind of played out from there. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, obviously, I wanted to win. That's kind of one of the big goals I've been trying to do is get a win in the rec division and then move up. I've come close now 3 times. I've come second 3 times, basically in a row. So I don't know. I might rate out before I ever actually get the chance to get the win, but we'll see what happens. But all in all, I was proud that I was able to kind of, make the comeback, right? Obviously, keeping my composure and not getting in my own head and not letting bad things affect me, something I've really been working on. And so the fact that I was able to kind of dig deep, pull out a second place finish, pull out a really nice second round, kind of fight back, is helpful. It kind of proves to me that I'm capable of, making moves in the second round of an event. I don't have to do everything in the first round. It was kind of nice to do it the other way around, like have a really strong finish as opposed to having a really strong start and then kind of, falling off in the second round, so to speak. So yeah, I think that all in all, while it's disappointing because like all my practice rounds, I was shooting well under par at, Municipal Park, and then I wound up shooting 5 over. It was very disappointing. I shot pretty much on pace for, the second course at South Alabama, the harder course of the 2, in my opinion. And so I think I still, have a little bit to be proud of, and it was a good time. Really enjoyed Southside. They do a great job with how they run their tournaments. It was really cool to get to play it, and I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please follow and subscribe for more. I'll have some more action coming for you soon. Might have a couple more tournaments coming up, and otherwise we'll just do some regular practice rounds and showing off new courses and maybe some fun rounds, things of that nature. So be sure to follow up. Thanks so much. Catch you next time.